We're going to continue to use that minimum amount of force necessary to accomplish our mission, and we never did use tear gas or any other less lethal munitions against peaceful protesters.
Okay, so if you haven't heard the news, a judge is limiting ISIS crowd control tactics following a Minneapolis shooting. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Hold on, why have I heard this before? It wasn't too long ago a judge sort of did the same thing. And you would be correct because back in November during Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, a judge ordered the limitation or restricting the use of tear gas and pepper balls to push away rioters and protesters. Now, that did get overturned. They can use tear gas, but I'm just trying to show you guys this has happened before.
We're digging into the group organization, who's leading these groups. The FBI, Homeland Security Investigations, U.S. Border Patrol are all working in close...
Now, I'm sure you guys are starting to pick up on this. The Trump administration almost every single day has talked about protesters who cross that line or group organizers that cross that line in order to impede or obstruct federal agents. It has been talked about almost every day from Border Patrol to FBI, Homeland Security. This is new from the Trump administration, and it gives us an indication that a lot more people might start to get arrested than we've seen before in the past. In fact, here's Chief Bo talking about it.
We're digging into the group organization, who's leading these groups. The FBI, Homeland Security Investigations, U.S. Border Patrol are all working in close concert. We're making great strides in identifying the ringleaders, and we're going to bring them to justice. And something else here is it's not only federal agents and federal property they're damaging, but they're also going after American citizens whom they might think are federal agents, and American citizens, say, driving an SUV.
Have you guys seen this yet? I am seeing some videos on TikTok and other reports of people being misidentified as an ICE agent because they're driving a van that's actually a work vehicle that is starting to pop up left and right as well, which is actually becoming a safety concern for anybody around the United States. That's what Chief Bo is referring to. If you haven't seen it, it might start to pop up on your algorithms.
They're actually stopping those citizens on the highway, damaging their vehicles, slashing their tires. So it's not just federal agents, it's everyday Minnesotans that are feeling the pinch from these anarchists.
They're live streaming
Exactly.
it. I mean, they're taking pride in what they're doing and want everybody across the country to see it.
So, let me know what you think about this interview. Again, we've heard it time and time again, especially from a Tom Mann or a Pam Bondi. If you cross that line and you impede, you're going to get arrested. But now, what we're seeing is something very unique in Minneapolis, considering like every federal agency is on the ground. We have a ton of agents. Kash Patel was even reported to be on the ground just 24 hours ago, working in coordination with federal partners to identify and find these groups. So, let me know how you feel about that. And by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. And make sure to also please subscribe. Leave your comments. I really want you guys to tune in to my live streams I do every morning. I think you will enjoy it because it allows you to interact in real time. And we go through everything in detail as far as Minneapolis and other federal investigations as well. Now, let's get to this clip.
Casting a wide net of deplorable people who hold certain ideological beliefs, people who have Nazi tattoos on their necks, and descending them on American cities. And it's costing local municipalities millions of dollars.
Scott.
Respond to what?
What she just said.
Oh, you're worried about tattoos like the guy that's going to win the Maine Senate primary with the Nazi tattoos?
Here we go. Let's deflect. Let's
no, I'm asking.
focus
if you're worried about tattoos,
but let's talk about what's happening.
Okay, so let me stop here again. Leave your comments down below how you feel about this so far. Now, why am I showing you this clip? What does this have to do with anything? Well, one of the main talking points we are hearing from Minneapolis, whether it's from the mayor or other lawmakers or political news pundits, is that the influx, the federal surge going into Minneapolis, is actually causing the city a lot of money. So, by sending in all these agents, you're shutting down restaurants, areas to go shopping. People are afraid to go out. That is one of the main arguments we are hearing right now as far as opposition against these federal surges. Okay, so now I want to talk about Judge Limit's ISIS crowd control tactics following Minneapolis shooting. So a lot of people are getting the story wrong. It's not a judge saying Homeland Security can't use tear gas or pepper balls. The judge is saying you can if the protesters are peaceful. And for a lot of people who actually read the story and looked into what the judge was saying, the majority of people would actually agree. Like 99% of people, to include conservatives, are like, yeah, if you're peaceful, why would you use pepper balls or tear gas? In fact, even Chief Beau himself, who's had to go through this, agrees with this.
Exactly. We're going to continue to use that minimum amount of force necessary to accomplish our mission, and we never did use tear gas or any other less lethal munitions against peaceful protesters. We support the First Amendment. We always support the First Amendment, but when they cross the line and they're violent, we will use those less lethal munitions because it keeps them safe, it keeps our officers safe, and it keeps the public safe.
So again, even Chief Bovino is saying we can't because we support the First Amendment. Now, I do want to show you guys how this was a little different as far as what was happening up in Chicago and what Chief Beau had to go through. Now, for the subscribers, we covered Chicago every single day. I think we covered every single major event of Operation Midway Blitz. And it wasn't until halfway through the operation, that's when all of a sudden we saw a judge say, that's it. You have to limit or restrict the use of tear gas and pepper balls when defending yourselves. But for some reason, this part of the story doesn't get talked about too much. Appeals court blocks judge's order restricting use of force during federal immigration crackdown in Chicago. Why did the appeals court strike this down? Well, according to the appeals court, the judge was impermissibly infringing on the separation of powers between the executive branch and the courts. And this is the big distinction. The judge in this Minneapolis case is limiting, not restricting. So limiting on the fact that you cannot use tear gas or pepper balls if they're peaceful. And again, I think everybody would agree to include Chief Beau. Yeah, we agree with that. And not only that, we haven't been doing it. And over in Chicago, there wasn't the sense of limitation. It was quite literally restrictive, like no tear gas at all, which is why the appeals court was like, hold on, you cannot make that judgment call. In fact, internally within Homeland Security, they have protocols in which they can use or not use tear gas, which is why, again, that got struck down. So I hope you guys see the big difference here. You have restrictive use of tear gas pepper balls. That was Chicago. And then in Minneapolis, you have limited use. Now, While we're here, I might as well cover this topic.
More investigators has learned about a change at the LAPD. Officers are now banned from using a type of less lethal gun on protesters.
It comes after a decision by a federal judge. Our investigative reporter, Eric Leonard, covers the LAPD for us. He joins us live from the newsroom right now with how this all...
This is a judge pretty much making the same judgment call, but this time against the LA Police Department.
Writing, the plaintiffs in this lawsuit have shown evidence that the LAPD has continued to use 40-millimeter munitions on protesters who did not pose an immediate threat of violence toward officers, that police did not provide warnings before using the munitions, and that officers hit protesters in restricted areas of their body. The court order also includes a list of recent violations. Many happened during recent immigration protests against immigration enforcement, including one officer who shot a protester while he had his hands up, then shot him again in the face, another officer who shot a woman, then shot her again when she was on the ground, a third officer who shot a protester in the head while she was holding a sign, and a fourth officer who shot a man in the groin, then shot a lawyer in the groin after the lawyer asked the first officer for his name. Now, the lawsuit that led to this ruling was filed back in 2020 after the summer of George Floyd protests. Many demonstrators back then complained that police were using these weapons without justification.
So the reason why I'm showing you this is because there was already an order for the limitation of the type of munitions used against protesting or rioters. Yet now we have crossed into the, again, not the limitation, but the restriction part of things.
And something else, Aisha, that we're seeing is that rank and file of many of the area police departments, including Minneapolis Police Department. Many of their rank and file police officers are coming up to our agents on the ground saying, thank you for what you're doing. We support you 100%. That's in direct opposition to, say, a Mayor Fry calling for cops to fight federal agents. So we've got the support of the rank and file and the American public. This mission is going to continue.
So they want to help. I mean, they're coming up to you and telling you that they actually do want to help, but their hands are tied.
So again, just to make that comparison, what happened in Los Angeles was a limitation. Then the judge deemed it to be a restriction after reviewing evidence according to the judge. And we are in that limited phase right now when it comes to the Minneapolis story. So let's get to this.
Exactly. We've seen this in California and Los Angeles. We saw this with Chicago rank and file police officers. And guess what? We're seeing it in Minneapolis also. And to any of those Minneapolis police officers, and I'm hearing this is happening, that want to join the U.S. Border Patrol or ICE, we welcome you with open arms. We support you. We support you making American cities like Minneapolis a safer place. So I'd be happy to meet personally with those officers that might be wanting to join a law enforcement agency that supports them.
I always say this whenever I cover stories like this. We never fully know how the police department really feels when it comes to situations like this. We do know that over in Portland, there were police officers, the police union, who was indicating that they did want to have a little more cooperation and communication with Homeland Security. But as you guys know, the policies of Sanctuary City and the leadership of the mayor was really creating a restrictive access to communication and partnering together. So again, to Chief Bo, he's saying, look, on the ground, they like us. They want to work with us. But when it comes to the policies, there's a different tune out there. So keep in mind what you see on the screen and what you're hearing. We don't always fully know the details behind the scenes of how police departments truly feel about the lack of coordination or communication with ICE agents or Border Patrol. So keep that in mind.
We are also letting people know where it is that, they can go in order for them to have individuals who might be there to protect them, right? We know that there are certain locations that we have constitutional observers who are ready to support and to document. We are also informing people that if you are scared and you are worried, call 911. Our local law enforcement will show up. And so that is the best that we can do is continue to provide the best information as possible and to keep each other safe. But that means that requires our communities to continue to show up for each other as well. And they have heard our call and community is showing up.
Okay. So that would be interesting if we see this like flipping of I was in Minneapolis in the Minneapolis Police Department, or I was in the St. Paul Police Department. I'm going to Chief Bo. I want to join Border Patrol. Obviously, it's not that easy, but this Trump administration, Anything can happen. Who knows if they create a fast track? I would not be surprised if that happens. This Trump administration has really created unique ways and opportunities to conduct their operations and to get their mission completed. So we'll see what happens with that. But make sure to please subscribe because I will be keeping you up to date if anything like that happens. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen, but it could. Okay, now, I want to talk about the mayor of St. Paul. There seems to be a lot more attention on the mayor of St. Paul after some recent comments. But now I have been covering St. Paul and Minneapolis months before like the Nick Shirley video or this federal surge. And in my investigation and in my reporting, St. Paul has actually had the bigger story than Minneapolis. Now, again, for many different reasons, there's probably a lot more focus on Minneapolis because it's just a generally popular city. In fact, when I've talked to people off script to my friends about St. Paul, they're like, where is that? I've actually heard that before. So, just so you know, St. Paul is one of the twin cities to Minneapolis. I think a lot of you know that by now. But one thing I found rather interesting is that the mayor of St. Paul is at almost every single press conference with the mayor of Minneapolis. But most of the attention, if not all of it, is focused on the mayor of Minneapolis. When the policies, political policies, and the overall policies when it comes to sanctuary policies, it's pretty much the exact same in St. Paul. So I find it interesting how now people are starting to catch up as far as paying attention to the mayor of St. Paul. But just so you are aware, the mayor of St. Paul is starting to appear on some people's radars as far as what she's been saying and people not agreeing with her. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I was as fair as possible when analyzing all sides of the story here. I always try to be fair. Also, please pray for peace. We do need that right now. I always advocate for peace at the end of all of my videos, and I really mean it. I think we should be praying for peace. Also, make sure to please subscribe. Leave your comments on by turning on your notifications. That also helps so you guys don't miss the live streams we do every morning. That has been a lot of fun. And I think you guys have been enjoying it as well. So, thank you again so much for everything, and I will catch you guys later. This story is developing 247. Every single hour there seems to be a new development as far as Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Minnesota in general. So, thank you so much for everything. God bless, and we will see you all later. Pray for peace. We need it.